So I am going to pull up an Excel sheet, which normally I do not like Excel sheets, but I'm gonna because all of you at one point or another have said, how should I hire an SDR or an internal sales rep? Or what should I hold them accountable to? How should we do the metrics? All of the things and the KPIs. So we have our SDR tracking sheet, which is in your pipeline, but I feel like that's only half of the story. So I thought that maybe today, unless you guys want to talk about something else, but I thought maybe today I would go over how I typically break down SDRs from an IT vendor perspective, as well as what we do from an MSP perspective.
Sounds good to me. I'd be
Okay.
curious to know
I got a
your take
question
on
though.
that.
Oh Lord, what's the question?
Well, I'm in the trial for that thing.
The thing.
Yeah, the thing you told me to do. You know, the
Oh,
thing.
which one? I say a lot of things. I don't even know what I'm talking about. What am
Well,
I talking about half the time? I
well,
don't even know.
yes, you know the thing. The thing. What is
Are you
this
talking
thing
about
called?
high level?
Yes, the
Yeah.
CRM.
Yes.
Do I do their onboarding call or do you have a process?
Go ahead and do theirs because yes, I do have a process and yes, I will show you what you have to do at first, but they will be the ones to do the getting your domain linked up, making sure that your emails are in there. I don't want to deal with that crap. Let them do it. And they do it for
Got it.
free.
All right, that's all I had.
Yep. Okay, cool. So that was a good question though. Give me a second. Let me pull. Oh, look at that. I have a list of to-dos that I was supposed to do. Oh no, I already did those. Got it. Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm trying to pull up the right thing.
Well, I'm proud of you. You got your to-dos done.
I did. I was very proud of myself. No idea.
I think I overwhelm my to-dos and then it doesn't get done. Let's see, what am I doing here?
Yeah, those are all stretch goals for me.
So I have this, essentially I have a calculator and let me share. I'm recording this so that everybody can see. Now, if anybody says, I got this from Alex, I will deny it because I built this for another company. So, shh. But at the same time, this is being recorded, so it's for posterity. So somebody's going to turn me in at some point. So, what we do though, now this is what I was paying, and I'm going to give you guys an exact replica of what I paid out from an IT vendor perspective. So keep in mind, this is software sales, not MSP sales. The overhead, the cost, and your margin vastly different. Okay. But what I am going to say is let's go through this and break down what would work for you and what wouldn't work for you, as well as also kind of start looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, is an SDR really all I need, or do I need SDR to account management, which may help pay for this person, right? Because in an MSP, not one is cookie cutter and everybody wants to know what the magic sauce is. And there really isn't one, but this formula works well. Okay.
Your
So
definition of an SDR is?
sales development representatives. So these are the guys that you've got a ton of outsourced SDR companies that just bang on the phones and book meetings.
I call
You've
them
got
appointment setters. Yeah.
appointment setters, right? You've got a sorry if dogs are barking in the background. We've got an SDR firm that I am actually recruiting right now to work through a commission only structure to see if that works for an MSP. And if it does, great. But what I am considering on this is if you were to hire a guy or a girl or somebody coming in to be not only your appointment setter, but somebody that's going to help get that opportunity over the line because nobody who is fresh out of college, brand new into the industry, is going to command a huge salary. And you're frankly going to have to do more of the work than anybody else, anyways, to get the thing sold, or your account or your technical account person
So
is
your
going to.
SDR is the closer also?
Not the closer,
Okay.
but I have found in most of these smaller MSPs, you have an SDR who works in tandem with either the account manager or the technical account person or the owner. And so to put them as and to pay them as a full account executive or a CIO, it doesn't make sense because you're doing a lot of the work and they're training, right? So for them, hold on, somebody's going to say hi to me. Hello. Mwah. Go away. I'm in a call. All right. So one of the ways that I figure is if we take a look at how I've structured, say, 10 SDRs for a software company coming in at the same time, and you got to remember that in an SDR situation on a software company, it's churn and burn. If you get 10 of them in, 3 of them or 5 of them are going to work out, right? And they know that going in. For MSPs, you can't do that because A, you don't have the same cash flow, you don't have the same margin, and you don't have the same patience, and you don't have the onboarding. That's why people typically go to those firms, and Imprint's a great one. I'm still on the fence on channel hunters. That's why I'm talking to the other one, and I'm also going to be talking to a firm called Amy here in a bit to vet these out for you guys. But this is more of the long plan game of who can we bring inside the firm to train them up to not only dial for dollars, but also help me sell, right? So that's the structure that I want you guys to take a look at here.
So your
So
SDRs are also outside sales?
um no,
Okay.
if it is, again, I'm saying from an MSP
Mhm.
perspective, right? If we're talking MSP, each
Relatively
person
speaking, they
tends,
don't have to go knock on doors anymore because they can do Zoom. So they don't have to
um,
be.
they can. I actually am a big proponent of canvassing. I do like people going
Mm,
in the 5 mile radius. I do like people knocking on doors a little bit. I'm not somebody that's going to say, "Hey, don't do that," because old school sales is still a thing, and I think it's important. And this is me coming from a millennial saying that the old school sales approach works, and just it is what it is. But that being said, this is a hybrid. Okay, this is not somebody that is only going to open. And what you'll see is you'll also start seeing how they are compensated so that you'll start seeing how they are compensated is a direct correlation on the job that they're doing. So
mhm,
if I'm a, we could technically just change the name on this because I don't want you guys getting stuck on SDR on this. This is your um this is your opener and potentially
mhm,
your account manager as well. Okay.
mhm.
But it's not necessarily just a tried and true SDR. Okay. So just go on the hi Clint.
Hey there.
Um, so go on that journey with me and sort of take away the SDR calculator dollars, take that name away, because what I would probably do is get somebody in plus one of those firms to make sure that you're bridging the gap and making sure that you have the right mix. And then as the cream rises to the top, you can get rid of some of those firms. Or if you have one of those firms and they're giving you enough meetings and that person is helping you close, great, right? But again, no MSP is exactly the same. So that's why I'm giving you how this is structured. All right. So let me run through really quick. And this is kind of where we are from. This was 2 years ago also when I was paying this person at $38,000 base, but it is not out of the realm of possibility to do a lower base with a variable compensation as long as it is a good potential and a good upside. So Beth, I'm going to make an example of you, Beth, because you have gone through SDR after SDR after SDR, some of mine, some of yours, some of my recommendations, some of Robin Robbins' recommendations, and it's been overwhelming. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to kick off the week with this was because this should give you a good structure on how to start a solid account management opener relationship without feeling like you're being taken advantage of, but also paying for their results. So what I measure, and if you guys remember the pipeline tracker has your connection rate, how many conversations you had on the week, how many meetings were set, all of that, right? So this is how we pay them. Conversations over 5 minutes. 18% of variable, right? You can change that because again, this was for a software company. You could pop this to, instead of conversations over 5 minutes, you could put towards meetings set or opportunities opened or whatever, however you wanted to put it. But this is the metric that you're going to be measuring. I have dials per month. For one person on that firm, I had 1380, and that was 20% of the variable. Now, here's the thing. If they didn't hit all the dials for the month, I didn't pay them for all the dials of the month. But if they had conversations over 30 minutes or over 3 hours, it made up for each other, right? So that 20% variable, if you don't hit everything on one and you hit the other one and you're talking longer, that to me is more valuable because you're going to open up another opportunity, you're going to set a meeting, and you're potentially going to close a deal. Make sense? So it's weighted properly. Just make sure that it's weighted properly. And then we have a commission on sales results. But because this is an opener, I'm not paying them on what it would be to close the deal. I'm paying them on what it would be to open the opportunity and help you close the deal. But because you guys are doing the dirty work and you guys are doing the heavy lifting and creating the quotes and doing all of the things, why are you going to pay somebody else to do that until they're trained up? Does that make sense? Ish. Affirmative. Okay, got it. All right. So then we have the base salary of whatever it's going to be. And you can play around with this. I'll put a copy of this up on the portal so you guys can play around and download and access it. But the variable compensation and the total on target, so that OTE. So if somebody ever says, what does OTE mean? That's what this means. That's their all in. That's their base salary plus their variable compensation. And that variable compensation is made up of whatever metric you have. Okay. Then we go into their target. So I want them to be booking $300,000 per year. That's what I'm setting for that person's goal.
In ARR?
But this
Yep.
calculator was built for a different type of sale.
This, correct. This type, and yeah, Clint, you came on a little later. This one is an actual calculator that I created for a software company. So what I want to do is I want to go through this. Your margins are different, your targets are different, your needs are different, but this is the basic calculator. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of it, and then we're going to change it to suit what you all would want in your businesses. And then I'm going to give you a copy of this so you can play with the numbers, because that's one thing that I've found with a lot of the peer groups out there. They do great work and they tell you the right things to do to set up your companies properly, but there's not a lot of flexibility and it's not cookie cutter. So what we want to do is we want to take a look and we want to play with the numbers, and then we want to review the numbers, and then we want to take a look at it in 2 quarters and review the numbers again so that we can really start taking control, right? So for this one, I've got conversations. The monthly was 52, quarterly was 156, so the annual was 624. Simple math, right? Then we've got dials. All right, so that's their quarterly goal. Annually, that's what I want. And I broke it down so that I know exactly what I want out of every single person. Okay. And then the sales results, if I want 300,000, I want 75,000 quarterly. Did I do the math right? I think I did. So, so I've got basic information per quarter, so I can also track, are we to goal? Are we heading in the right direction? Are we off? Do I need to reevaluate who I have? Is the cream rising to the top? So it's all broken down that way. Then we have targets and allocations. So total on target earnings. If they get 61% of 18,000, I get really, really granular on what my potential payout's going to be. If I have 18% of variable is the conversations and they have a target of 3,150, but they only hit, let's say, 2,000, that's going to change the payout, right? I'm going to hit undo on that because I just jacked up my own thing. But if say I do, there we go. I'll adjust that and save it. Bless you. If I have 20% on dials and the annual target is 3,675, the incremental payout's going to be what. So this is all generated from the actuals up here. So what they actually get, not necessarily what they were targeting, but what they actually got. Make sense? So the formulas are here. So just don't screw around with my formulas, and then you can put whatever the target is on the annual target. Okay. And you can also change whatever it's going to be, right? So if you don't care about how many, well, you do care about that. If you don't care how many dials per month, but you care about how many meetings set, which is what I would care about for you, I would change that to a specific amount of meetings set. So like 10 meetings per month or 15 meetings per month, and have that be a part of their variable. Kind of making sense? Okay. From lead generation, we've got, basically it's just a different way of saying the exact same thing, so I'm not going to worry about that. But then if I go to the calculator, you've got your actuals here and you've got the payout. You've got actuals, payout, actuals, payout. So this is your month by month calculation so that they know and you know what they're getting every single month based on the formulas from the previous page. So it should, after you play around with it and you make it fit for yourself, it should make this relatively easy for you, especially if you guys are saying, hey, I need this account management person, whether they're an SDR and they're wearing a couple of different hats, but these are the metrics I care about. Especially for you, Beth, because you have somebody that kind of, what I've noticed about your organization, they very comfortably slide into more of a marketing role versus a sales role because nobody's keeping them on task with, I need to hit a particular metric on sales, and then you're stuck, and the marketing stuff has to happen. So technically, you're not upset, but at the same time, your sales piece isn't happening.
Are you referring to with Adam?
Um, It happened a little bit with Adam, but I think that's where he's stronger at is learning that stuff as opposed to all of the talking so far because he has a lot to learn still. But it even happened with the others. I mean, I think your strongest SDR for a while there was Parsa.
Mm-hmm. I would
And
think
that
so.
and yeah, and he was great, right? He still didn't get all of the metrics done that you wanted, but had you had something like this, it might have made it easier for you to at least show, okay, what are we getting out of him? Is he getting the stuff done? Is he hitting all of these metrics? And okay, if he is hitting these metrics and he's still not getting the desired results, I have to look at, are my desired results off base, or am I not giving him the right marketing? But then it allows you to look internally and say, okay, what am I doing wrong if he's hitting this? So guys, are we ready to potentially play around with some of these numbers?
I've got a question before you go and do that.
Sure.
The question is,
No.
what do you use? The answer is no.
No. Whatever it is, no. I'm not doing it.
Do you have, how do you have your SDR, for lack of a better way of calling them, do they track their own numbers or are we supposed to track their numbers?
Good question. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. One, if again, I would probably say you're going to have the best luck if you have a hybrid solution where you have some outsourced help to get you going and then bring in the right talent. But inside of your calling, so with Go High Level that you're using and with Keep that Beth is using, you can actually monitor your calls utilizing a calling tracker, either
Turbo
Ring
dial.
Central,
Yeah, I used to do that.
Kixie, RoboDial, all of the things, right? You've got all of that. It's a shared report. So your SDR should be able to export that and report on it so that you don't have to babysit. However, do most SDRs do that? No. I have come across probably 7 of them that are just amazing SDRs that have just they're like, this is what I did today. These are the calls that I made. This is what I did, and these are the connections. And they were very, very proactive about it, and they showed the reports. The vast majority of them won't do it. they make the calls and do what they have to do to get to the next thing, because what they want is they want to book a meeting. But that's why we have this guy, which is your SDR tracking, which can typically, which this is part of your pipeline. So you guys should have all seen this by now, at least a few times, where you've got a total pipeline that is built. You've got amount needed for the target, right? So if I'm saying that I want 24,000 for the quarter for this particular person, and he's just doing SDR work, then that's fair, but it's normally a 7x pipeline to get what I want to get, because we know that things are going to fall off. Technically it's 7x on a sales rep, but like 10x or something like that on this. I'm glad I memorized all of the formulas. This is why I make formulas, so I don't have to remember the numbers. But this allows us to look at what they've done on a daily basis, and you can literally see, okay, on today's date, this is how many calls, this is how many connections. Now this is over the course of a week. So if you're looking at 1089, that was over a week, not one day. But representative, their name, the calls, how many connections, how many were interested, what was a connected neutral. And I got this directly from Imprint, right? So Imprint and I made this together so that we could get a good format for any MSP that looked on it that wanted to see where their money was going if they chose to hire Imprint, Amy, or any of the other SDR companies. Meeting set, not interested, voicemails, and what the connection rate was, as well as the talk time. But remember, the talk time to me is super important. So I actually normally pay on talk time.
Over 5 minutes.
Over 5 minutes. Yeah, if it's under 5 minutes, typically they're leaving a voicemail, or they're just sort of beating the clock a little bit, and I'm not going to pay for that. But if they have a solid conversation, you can change it to 2 minutes if you think that it's gonna lead to a meeting. Depending, again, this is not a hard and fast approach. It's, you know, your business and you know what you're going to be discussing. So I'm going to give you the formulas. I'm going to give you the sheet to work with, but it's definitely going to be a little bit of trial and error to see what's going to be the most effective for you.
So why do you play talk time versus reaching the decision maker or whatever it might be? I'm not sure. I would think that would be a hard metric to keep up with.
So in the software, typically you have a recording of how long the conversation was. You don't necessarily have a recording of who the authority is on BANT. But remember, we don't have an opportunity unless we have budget, authority, and need and timeline. So remember, everything that we build is meant to be built and used together. This is not supposed to live in a silo by itself, right? So if you're saying, okay, do you have an opportunity to, and again, opportunities created, I pay on opportunities created. And for a software company, I will pay on dials per month. For an MSP, I will not pay on dials per month. I don't think it's worth the time for you, because that's just going through lists, right? It's very different. So what I would do is I would say, okay, let's put that to meeting set, right? So in fact, we can change that right now. Are you guys comfortable with me putting meeting set for that?
We always have meetings sat, so they can book the meetings, but the prospect actually has to
Attend. Yep.
for them to get credit for it, or they would just be booking garbage.
I think you're right. So meeting set and attended with my horrible handwriting.
And
So
I thought you said her terminology was SAT, SAT.
sat, meeting sat. I like that. Is that from Robin?
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
I'll
it is.
take that one. I'll take that one. We'll give a little nod to Robin on that one.
Mhm.
They sat.
So Keith, you must know about that as well.
Yeah, I was with her for from 2008 until 2 years ago.
Okay, so that's why you have keep and all that other stuff, or
Yes, I
did.
had, yes.
He said, yes, I had, and then he didn't export any of his
I know I
stuff.
blew it. I messed that up.
Ooh, you're gonna make me have a heart attack. So, all right, so we're here. We're changing this to meeting sat, conversations over 5 minutes. Do y'all want it to be 5 minutes or 2 minutes? Or we could meet in the middle and say 3.5, whatever we want to do. But again, it can change, right? This is not hard and fast. This is going to be, you guys are going to get a copy of each one of these. Oh, hold on. Lewis is texting me saying something about probably not being in the thing. Hold on.
And I know
Oh,
that
perfect. Okay.
we haven't asked, but how's Devoye?
Thank you. That's very nice. So he is doing much better. He got very banged up. So for everybody that didn't know, Devoye was in a car accident on his way to the airport from Austin to come to meet me in Dallas for the channel program event. And he got hit by a drunk driver on the way to the airport. So it sucked. He was stuck in the hospital for 24 hours. They had him under observation. He has burns from the what is it, the airbags,
Yeah.
and he was all kinds of bumped up and bruised. So, but aside from having health expenses that he wasn't anticipating and a car that needs to be replaced, he it could have been a lot worse. So he's doing okay. So thank you for asking.
Well, that just happened.
It just happened. Literally. Yeah, I was at the channel program event on, guys, when was that? Was that Wednesday?
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday? Yeah. So it was, yeah, so Tuesday, Wednesday. We flew in on Tuesday and the event itself was on Wednesday. And I was wanting my right-hand man there with me and he was not there. So he was in the hospital. I got a message from his best friend saying, "Hey, DeBoye got hurt. I'm so sorry. He's a workaholic. He's trying to get out and going on to the airport." I'm like, "I don't want him. Tell him to stay in the hospital." So he's doing fine now. Uh, yeah. So, okay, where were we? We were starting at 3.5 minutes, right?
So I always tell them all I want them to do is sell the appointment. I don't want them to sell the services because they really don't know enough. That's John's duty is to
Mhm.
they're to sell the appointment and then John is up to John to take it from there. So are
Correct.
we looking at this differently?
For
Yeah,
you,
I taught to sell the next step, whatever the next step is.
Right.
yeah. So yes, it's sell the next step, but again, because we're talking a smaller organization than a SaaS company, right? If everybody could stay in their lanes, wouldn't that be nice? But nobody can in a small company. So I would like everybody to just take a second and realize how many hats you as CEOs wear. Now take a moment and acknowledge the fact that you may have a senior engineer who also fixes our own stuff happening sometimes because it just is what it is. You're in a small business. So what we know about the sales process at an MSP after years of doing this is that everybody lives, everybody pulls weight, and it allows a little bit of autonomy. Yes, for you, Beth, John is going to be opening up the opportunity and taking it to fruition. But man, wouldn't it be nice if there was some skin in the game from that SDR who opened that opportunity when John can't remember to call him to set that next step? Wouldn't it be nice to have some skin in the game for that SDR or that person, that account management person to call and say, "Hey, just making sure you had a great call with John. Were the next steps set? When are we meeting with you next? I see here that we've got an opening on Thursday." So he doesn't necessarily have to be the person that says, "Hey, what's your budget authority need timeline and what are next steps? Tell me your buying cycles, tell me all the things, talk about the RFP that Clint's going to be, downloading, all the things that this guy is not going to understand, but he can be there to help you lift." And so what I want to do is I want to start paying them because what's going to happen is sales guys will do exactly what you pay them to do. Okay.
Mhm.
If they only get paid for meetings set, doesn't matter if John forgot to follow up with them, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they fell off and you've got 17 things going on, Keith. So you're not worried about the two guys that you spoke to last month that you think were really good conversations, but now you're dealing with three churches. So it's nice to have somebody that is being trained to have some skin in the game and help you along because it's in their best interest to get that 2.5% of whatever it is, even if it's just margin, if it's whatever, like you guys are going to set that number. And it may be a little bit more complicated. It might just be that, hey, I'm going to pay, 1.5%, 1.75% on, gross profit on it and just keep it easy. Or you might say, hey, I'm going to do 5% of margin. But whatever it is, that's sort of, well, that's actually awfully high, so don't do that. But but this is going to allow you to depend on your team a little bit more. And what I want out of this year coming up is the ability to have each and every one of you say, okay, we're delegated. Like, I know that this person's going to do the thing. And then it's just accountability. It's not so much you and John having to do all the things, or Clint staying up until 11:30 at night because somebody else didn't follow up, right? Like, this is where we start putting these foundational pieces in so that you can build your team the right way.
And I think I heard you right. That bottom line, the commission on sales results is gross sale. That's not.
That one, yes, but again, software.
Yeah.
So we're going to adjust it, right? You could do, I would say 2.5 of margin for you, because why are you going to pay 2.5% on gross profit, or if you're paying 60% out on hardware? Right? So we got to use our heads a little bit on how we adjust this, but then that shows up on the commission structure and on the comp plan itself. So when we're looking at the comp plan itself, they'll see what 2.5% means. They'll say, oh, okay, it's on margin. And in this case, I'll get 2.5 on this, or in this case, because it's a Microsoft product and they barely get anything, we're going to get 1% on this, or in this case, if it's just full labor, I get 2.5 on gross. Yay, right? But they have that in their comp plan. So this is just the calculator. Again, it's not meant to be in silos. We got to use it all together. All right, so we've changed it up. It's 2:30. So we've changed it up to conversations over 3-5, meetings set, and opportunities. Now, I know, and you know, that we're not going to have 50 monthly opportunities. So how many opportunities do you think is reasonable with 15 meetings set? But remember, it's not just 15 meetings from this month. It can waterfall. You could have 15 meetings from 2 months before, and some of those fly over into becoming opportunities.
I'm just thinking what that metric is. I've got some poor metrics. And so if it's 50% of the opportunities to actually book the appointment and actually sat, that may not be a good number. I mean, those opportunities could be a lot of things.
I'm going to stop sharing for 2 seconds because Lewis cannot find his link. So give me a second. Keep thinking that through, though, because I think I hear you, but I think you're going to get there in a minute. So
Okay.
say we have 15 meetings are set each month. Of those 15 meetings set, how many turn into opportunities if you're just doing month by month?
You're talking, okay, so I'm thinking something different. So I'm thinking of a raw lead as an opportunity. That's not what you're thinking.
No.
Okay.
Opportunities to me are true opportunities. Budget, authority, need, timeline. You have it all.
Okay. In other words, we're writing an action plan, as they say. So that's the opportunity that we're actually booking as an opportunity, not a lead. So we're looking at close rate.
No. So we're looking at, I separated it. So now I'm sharing my screen again because I just sent it over. Hold on. Let me just remind him that I sent it over to him just so that he knows to check his email in your new email.
So out of the 15 appointments sat, how many of those would actually end up in a proposal, which is an opportunity in your terms?
Or at least banned. So you have a meeting. That meeting has happened. We have established budget, authority, need, timeline. Doesn't mean that it's going to close right away, but it does mean that we know that there is an opportunity there and we are going to work it. At some point, yes, part of the sales cycle, there is going to be a proposal sent, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen right now because it may be that the timeline has it for 2 years from now. But if an opportunity is set or a deal is set, if you're in HubSpot land, how many opportunities could be opened every month? To me, I'm thinking residuals are going to come from previous months because if a good SDR is working, they're going to call people that they've talked to prior to say, hey, is it now a good time? Are we going to have this conversation now? Are we ready? So I wouldn't say it's going to be 100%, but I would say I would like to see about 60%. So if we have 15 meetings for the month, which might be low actually, if you have somebody that's really good, they could do better. So let's go, you know what? Let's look optimistically. Let's say that they're going to hit 25. And let's say 60% of that. Does that sound fair for amount of opportunities opened? Not in the first 3 months, it's never going to happen, but
I'm going to back up a step. You
sure.
said conversations with only people who have the ability to make a decision,
No, conversations.
just conversations with
Conversations.
anybody in the company. And of
You could
those,
be talking, you
oh,
could
oh,
be talking to the janitor if it's 3.5 minutes.
okay. And of
'Cause
those 52 conversations, you set 25 meetings.
we're hoping.
I see. I'm catching up.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean how many calls. I mean, they could be making 13. What was the one that I said? I had 1,300 calls, 1,500 calls for the month. That's what I'm expecting. So if they have 1,300 or 1,500 calls for the month and they get 52 conversations that are over 3.5 minutes, I think they could do 20, 25 meetings for that month, but that's me being optimistic for sure. And then of course you adjust, right? You go up, you go down, but again, based on the pipeline and setting what we have to set for you to hit the numbers you need to hit, you're now going to need to know, okay, how many meetings do I have to have this guy book before I bring another SDR in or before I make calls myself? Because it's all interconnected. So all those numbers matter. And that's why it's so important to put this dashboard together in your CRM so that you see the key metrics because it's all connected. So then we have the opportunities. Obviously, again, we're not going to hit 50. So let's say 16 opportunities.
15 is,
I just didn't want to have another 5. That's too many 5s.
yeah.
So I would say 16 opportunities and then the commission on sales results. Now, the sales results bookings for this is 300,000. Is that reasonable for an MSP?
Annual.
Annual.
Yes.
I think so. I think so. And I also guarantee that if you have somebody new starting, that 25,000 is not going to happen in the first 3 months. They're not going to hit this. But that's why we have a commission variable that has nothing to do with the variable compensation of the percentages, right? That are making up their pay. And this is what can give you that run rate. So for example, Robin Robbins has the commissionable sort of ramp. Beth, do you remember the ramp we were talking about when you first hired your SDRs? And it was hard for you to figure out, yeah, but how much is fair? So this takes care of them and it allows you to see what they're hitting, how they're hitting it, and if it's effective so that you can self-correct. But just doing a ramp to have a ramp doesn't completely jive with me, which is why I'm saying, okay, but let's go a little bit further and just be a little bit more granular about it. Because the majority of the MSPs that are putting these comp plans together for their salespeople, you guys are smart enough to figure out that you need certain activities to happen in order to hit the numbers. And then it allows you to break down the individual goals. and I don't care about the dials, but we can change that. So, all right. So we have like 15 minutes left of the call. So I want to make sure that I'm addressing any questions that you guys have on the next page. And again, this was on SAT because we're gonna give a throw out to or shout out to Robin. There we go. So we got SAT. So monthly goal was, what was it, 25 guys?
Yep.
All right. Go. Cool. All right. Any questions on this page?
The opportunities was 15.
Listen, sir.
Oh, just
All right.
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. This is why I need you guys. So if we hit actuals, let's play around with this a little bit. Say conversations, they only hit 20. I'm not paying them anything for that ramp or that percentage, right? If we have meetings sat based on 25 and say we get 24. Okay? But say they get 26. I'm not paying them any more than I would pay them, right? Because their meetings, they're going to do exactly what you pay them to do. You know how many meetings you need to turn them into opportunities to take them to fruition and to close them. Now, if you want to give them a bonus and say, hey, there's going to be a stretch goal if you can get an extra 10 meetings this month, great. Give them an incentive, give them a spiff, throw something to them. But for this, for all intents and purposes, this way they're going to do exactly what you pay them to do. So just make sure that the number of meetings that you're asking for is the number of meetings that you want.
Same thing with conversations. They have to do minimum of 52 in order to get paid.
Correct. But this one doesn't have to, you will still get paid on all of your meetings. So again, if you only get 15, you're still getting money. You're just not getting as much. Okay. For the conversations, just talk on the phone more. You know what I mean? Like that, like do what you have to do. Do the bare minimum to get that. But for meeting set, sometimes it's variable, sometimes it's a bad month, sometimes it just doesn't work. Pay them for doing the work and getting the results. So the result is a meeting that was attended. So pay them on it, but don't go nuts and pay them on everything, right? Don't give them the entire bonus if they only hit 15. Okay. Opportunities. So we're thinking 15 are going to come out of that. And we're going to put 15. That's their total, right? Whoopsies. That's not right. I got to fix that. That should be there. So, all right, we'll fix that. But if we do, say we hit 89 opportunities. Okay, so that's not broken, that's broken. So I'll fix that. So you are going to pay on opportunities past, right? Because again, pay them for if listen, if for Beth, for John, if he sets an opportunity on every single one of those meetings sat plus 2 extra that came in from previous months, that SDR or that account management person, that sales rep is going to get paid on every single one of those opportunities that was opened, that they touched. Now, if it's just a referral that comes straight into John, you're not paying anything to that person because you can't see that they even touched it, have nothing to do with it, unless you're being very nice, but you don't need to. Clear on that part?
Yeah, we usually don't if something comes in, whether it's through the website or John or whatever it might be. It's just we've never given an SDR commission on the sales. Basically, I'm giving them,
Mhm.
I'm paying them on the appointment. That's that. To make it easy.
Right. Yeah. And the math is mathing for sure. The issue is that you're not getting the results that you want.
Okay, because it's actually the SDR doesn't sell it. It's actually John.
Correct.
It's the salesperson that sells it.
I understand. But what I'm saying is the CEO, especially the CEO who is selling, and it's all falling on that CEO. It's a lot easier when you're tag teaming with somebody, even if it's just the SDR that you're training to do the follow-ups and to do the account management, to do the paperwork, to put the notes in, to show up on the meetings. It from a CEO, operator, salesperson doing all of it, I'd rather pay out 2.5% for some assistance through every single sale than not having it and potentially screw one up because I didn't follow up fast enough.
No, I agree. John is not the best at that. So,
I know my audience. That's all I'm saying. So if
You know your audience.
I know my audience. So what I'm saying is if we know our weaknesses and we know what's going to work and what's not going to work, and we've seen it over the course of the last couple of months, years, whatever, we've taken the good from Robin, we've taken the good from Gary Pico. We understand, the foundational things, right? But now it's we're talking about, okay, let's get as granular as we possibly can and understand human psychology is they're gonna do what you pay them to do. So pay them to do it.
Yep, pay on success.
That's all I'm saying is I'm just every result I want is what I'm gonna pay on. And that way it's gonna make things a lot easier on me as the CEO saying, I want this, I want this, I want this. Great. Now I know what I'm paying on. And it also allows you to pay less as a base salary because your variable compensation is going to make up for that and more than make up for that if you close a deal. But again, we can't look at this as an SDR because I have yet to see an MSP that hires an SDR that is only an SDR. Haven't seen it, not once. Even larger MSPs that have an SDR or a couple of SDRs, they end up doing account management. Or they get asked to help with quoting, or they get asked. So if we're just going to be honest about what we're asking these kids to do, is let's say exactly what we want them to do, and this is how we're going to pay you on it and compensate. But it also allows you to save money overall because that base salary then can be more of a negotiation.
I have a question that just came to mind.
I may or may not have an answer.
These sales,
Mhm.
are you doing first month, first 3 months, first year, total sale?
Are you talking about how we're paying out?
Yeah, the RM, are you paying on RMM, recurring monthly?
You mean MRR?
That was
Yes.
the MRR.
It's okay. Listen to what I mean,
If
not
I
what I
can,
say. Yeah. So typically I've seen it both ways depending on cash flow for each MSP. So for example, I've got one that is up in Michigan, and you guys remember Sean and Dan, the ones that okay, so they were getting paid just one lump sum. And it is what it is. It was based on ACV or ARR. And then if there was project work, that would get paid at the time of cash flow. We've got Nima, who's over in California. He's MRR. So when it comes in every month, he pays out every month, which is great because then it allows that sales rep to start, waterfalling and collecting. And then he also pays on renewal. That's another thing I didn't mention. Depending on the sales force that you have, if that salesperson is going to be wearing a little bit of that account management hat, are you potentially going to be counting commission on sales results as your renewals too? Because again, remember they're gonna do what you pay them for. So depending, and there's no right answer. It's just if they're going to be doing renewals, I would pay them on renewals. Or you just have an account manager that just does the paperwork, and there's that too. So depending on your workforce and how you're going to be building and rebuilding your infrastructure, especially going into 2025, this is the stuff that I want you guys to be thinking about. And that's why we're going over that today so that you can start seeing how it works with the pipeline. Clint, you're being awfully quiet. And you're on mute.
I'm just listening because I don't have anything to contribute on this one. This one's new to me.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Never
Okay.
hired a salesperson. I've always been the salesperson.
I know. I know. But you also just got rid of channel hunters to do your SDR.
Correct.
And wouldn't this be about what you were paying out for an SDR?
Yeah.
So it might be something that's worth having that conversation and thinking about in your annual budgeting so that you start planning ahead of, okay, do I really want that SDR company long term, or do I want to internalize somebody that can do account management, help me close, babysit me a little bit, babysit the deals, and dial for dollars when they have some downtime, but also go with one of those firms to kind of bridge the gap as that person comes on board. So it's just, and I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying, is that an option that you could think about?
Right. And I think it's worth considering for sure.
Mhm. Especially when the total OTE now has a variable compensation and they're getting commission on sales results. And wouldn't it be nice to be able to train somebody into more of a senior sales position? That's what I'm doing here is I'm giving you a pathway so that as you bring in somebody that might be more junior, they're going to start having those moments once they get past the initial conversations, then they're able to set those meetings. Now they're able to listen in and see how you're setting those opportunities or creating those opportunities, and then they can at least be following up with setting next steps. They're going to learn by osmosis,
Right.
at least a good one. Now if they just suck, then get rid of them and get somebody else. But but that's a problem of growth, right? Is you're not always going to get great people all the time, but if we set them up the right way, they'll at least do what you pay them to do. So, all right, I've been talking enough. Any other questions before I send this up to you guys on the portal?
None for me.
Beth, I feel like you have questions.
Oh, my mind's just working. Actually, Adam negotiated. I went in at 18 with all the bonuses and I just couldn't give him a bite. So I actually went up to 22, which means the base is higher, which I don't get as much out of it. And that's what I was trying to explain. But he's really the biggest calling time is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So Monday and Friday is kind of that dead time.
Mhm.
And that was where he'll help us with the other things.
But I have not seen a single sheet from him yet. So we have to get him on to do this. Even if he's not comfortable doing it yet, if he's calling Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, if that's his call time, perfect. By Thursday, he should have this done.
Okay. This is a different spreadsheet though.
This is actually the same one that's on the
No,
pipeline.
it's not the calculator. This is something different. Well, let me rephrase that. The sheet that you've been showing us on commission stuff, this is a separate.
Different.
That's
Yes.
separate. I don't
Yes.
want to miss
Sorry.
anything.
No.
Okay.
He only sees this. This is what he sees and helps fill out every time, every week on the pipeline tracker. He had a hard time finding the pipeline tracker, I think last week or the week before. So maybe if you help him identify it, it's at the bottom of the regular pipeline tracker. It just says SDR sheet, and that's what he needs to be filling out.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, no, he should not see this until you are ready for him to see this. But then what's really cool is if you do want to be transparent about it, it's great because they can just go right in here and then they can start playing, which is really fun because my most motivated sales reps that have ever started in a sort of top of funnel, top of sales funnel capacity, they always play with this. They're like, okay, what can I make if I hit this, this, and this? And what's really interesting is they start kind of playing with it and they're like, oh, okay, so I need to get these results in order to get the paycheck that I want to get. And it's very interesting because they're the ones that really start performing well. And they're notoriously, they always are the ones that play with the sheet that I've noticed. or whatever calculator that I give them. They're the ones that are playing with numbers.
Okay.
So, all right, guys, I don't have anything else. I'm going to load this up and then just guys, make sure you download a copy and play with it, play with the numbers. I'm around if you have any questions. I'll see if DeVoye can come and say hi so that nobody's worried about him tomorrow. And either way, I will see you on office hours and then I'll see you on Thursday.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.